Gators Breakdown episode 84 is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters, and you can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SCC. And this is an episode I've been waiting to do for a long time. I look up to this guy for college football knowledge and have for a while. So our guest on this episode of Gators Breakdown is Bill King. He's been in the sports talk radio business since 1987, and to me, is the voice of college football. It's the daily topic on the show, based out of Nashville on WNSR. Check it out on mornings, Monday through Friday, from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern, 6 to 9 a.m. Central. Bill King, thanks for joining Gators Breakdown.
Man, I need to just record that, and that'll be the intro to my show right there. I like that, man. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Bill, I want you may have to correct me on this, but I was going on my way to ESPN in Charlotte, and I had gotten Sirius XM for a Christmas present. So I had a long ride up to Charlotte from South Georgia, and it was the morning after the Texas-USC Rose Bowl National Championship game, and I believe that was the first time I have heard you. Would that be correct? Were you on right then?
1 year, exactly 1 year, because my first show was the day after the Oklahoma Southern Cal championship. And Southern Cal obviously dominated. Oklahoma scored first and Southern Cal dominated. And that was January of 2005. So the next morning, so you caught me perhaps literally 1 year in.
Yeah, and I remembered since then, it was I was like, whoa, this is nothing but college football. Taking me by surprise here, and you know what? Yeah. People have copied it since then, have not been able to replicate it, but I just can't thank you enough for putting out college football to the masses as a daily topic.
Well, let me give you just a quick story. They called maybe a half year, 8 months before that January of 2005, wanting to know if I'd do it. Made it very clear they didn't really think it was a good idea, but they needed to do something like that, or they wanted to try it. Nobody in New York thought it was a good idea because it's not all NFL, or it's not all NBA, or it's whatever, which I just laughed at that. And I knew 2 days in it was a hit. But it's a good lesson to anybody. Don't let anybody tell you it won't work, whatever you're doing. If you really believe it, and you better be good at it too, but if you really believe it and you own it, they can't stop you. And you're right. Nobody did that, which I thought, again, I love those circumstances when nobody else is doing it. That's the best. I love it when I'm standing here alone and nobody else is doing it, and nobody else thinks it'll work. Those are wonderful moments. And it was so fun to sit there and just laugh at everybody else and watch it just take off almost immediately. I mean, literally almost immediately. And now, when I get up in the morning, Dave, and I don't think about this much, but what are we, 12, 13 years from that moment, basically, over a decade. I'll be getting ready to start my show at 6 Central, and I'll see these other tweets of people plugging their day or their show, and so many of the South are that exact format. Now, everybody's got their own signature and their own fingerprints, but the exact format that didn't work or couldn't work, right? So, man, it's fun, man. I appreciate it.
It is fun. It is fun. You can catch me every Tuesday morning on Bill's show, Talking Gators. It's been almost a year, Bill. I think it started around, I don't think quite at the beginning of last season, but not too long after that. And I can't thank you enough for trusting me with putting Gator knowledge out there on your show. And it was, like I said, I listened to you for years and never thought I would find myself on your show. But now here we are, almost a year.
You know what? Now I didn't tell you this when we got you to go every week, but if Florida ever gets the quarterback situation cleared up, you're no longer welcome. It's not fun. Okay, I just letting you know that, my friend. But they've been doing a good job helping you and me out with that. Anyway.
I think so. As I've said it before. It's never a dull moment in Gator Nation, but with all the Malik Zaire talk and Antonio Callaway trouble and Justin Fields and Matt Corral and just since February basically, it's just been, I thought it would die down a little bit, but it sure has not. It's maybe ramped up even more.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You take for granted a good lesson, and the one thing I do on my show sometimes is I draw the parallel because I have a Southern bias, so I think the Florida job might very well be the best job in America, the college football job in America. Now, I could make the same case for a couple of other places, too. But Florida's in that very unique, very, very minute territory of recruiting, money, whatever the muscle you need, they have it to win as big, if not bigger than anybody. And I would say the same thing to make my argument about Texas. Now, what's interesting is, in 2009, Florida had a team good enough to win the Natty, lost to Alabama, but that was a heck of a Florida team, as we all know, and Tim Tebow was finishing up his time in Gainesville. Texas was on a run under Mack Brown between 04, 05, and 09. Bench young Colt McCoy. 09 Colt McCoy, they get to the championship game, lose him early. Marcel Darius hit. And Alabama wins the national championship game. What's interesting is and Texas doesn't have as good a history as they should, but it's still a program that could dominate for a long time if they're ever right with the right leadership. But it's interesting that two programs with that kind of might, that kind of nuclear power, hasn't had a quarterback play consistently. And Will Grier may be a slight exception briefly, but literally, Dave, hasn't had a quarterback. We're going on 8 years. It's unconscionable that a place like those two with those resources couldn't. I mean, you and I could put on a blindfold, drink a 12-pack, and then have us do the dizzy bat race. And then with the blindfold on, take a dart, throw it at a map, and hit a place that's got a quarterback that can play, probably. Couldn't we? And they can't do it. At least not yet. At least not. It's amazing.
It is weird, Bill, especially because ever since Spurrier there, Florida did not hurt for a quarterback. And
correct.
It had been there, for years, starting with Steve Spurrier, even before then. But, it was just you didn't even think about it. Okay, Florida's just going to have a quarterback. You never thought about it. And then even after Tebow, the recruiting was there. You go by recruiting rankings, and if Cam Newton never throws a computer out of a dorm window, you never know what happens.
Right.
It may transition to him, and then Florida never looks back. Urban Meyer may never leave. You never know. But even Brantley, Driscoll, Brissett, all highly recruited guys, and just did not work out. But Bill, just in general, when you kind of labeled Florida, you said one of the top programs, if not the top, when everything is right. But when you think about Florida, what's the prevailing thought about the program historically and kind of going to currently? Before Spurrier, it was labeled as a sleeping giant, but since then, it's been one of the top consistent programs in the country.
Correct. Well, and not to be long-winded here, but I picked it up as a kid when you didn't hardly get any, let's say, tons of television. You'd have one game a week or something in the 70s, early 70s, and Doug Dickey was there. And it was interesting because Doug Dickey left Tennessee to go to Florida, even though he's a Florida guy, played there. So that today, I've always remarked, that today would be highly controversial. But back then you didn't have the coverage, you didn't have social media, you didn't have all that, and the multiple TV channels, etc. But it was always an underachiever. Now, the population boom of the 70s aided a lot in this. Now, I blink and I remember the 79 season. Charlie Pell's left Clemson. He's at Florida. And they go 0-10-1. Larry Oshab's the quarterback. But you could tell. I remember watching those games. You could tell there's something here. Now, this is a crappy record. And then I blink, and it's like 84-85, and they've got the Great Wall of Florida with David Williams and Jeff Zimmerman and Wayne Peace in 80 and some of those guys at quarterback, Ricky Nikhil at wide receiver. So at that point, I remember thinking, this can be special. And probably would have been. Those 84, 85 teams were nasty. Wilbur Marshall. I mean, I can go on and on with talent. And your audience, a lot of your audience will know this too. And then, of course, they get hit with trouble with Charlie Pell. Galen Hall takes over. That doesn't work out so well. So they end up with Spurrier, and then they finally hit their stride. And so that's, again, not to bloviate here, but that's kind of the beginnings of it. I always knew there was something there. You just wondered at what point would this ignite, and it did, around 1990-ish. That's about the time you said, okay, they've got it. They've really got hold of something here now.
For sure. Bill, in the years you've done this, is there a certain point or a certain game you point to when you think Florida, and it was like, that's when Florida was at its best? Was it the Steve Spurrier era? Was it the Urban Meyer era? Is there anything in those two eras or one game you point to when Florida was like, yeah, that's what I want to see, and that's entertaining, and that's college football?
I think all those Werfel, Riedel Anthony, Fred Taylor, Ike Hilliard, Jacques Green, those teams, and they had good D as well, but it was the excitement of the fun and gun. That's what captivated everybody. That's what sold your eyeballs, those optics. And all those moments were fun to me. Didn't really matter. I mean, they would interchange parts. It didn't really matter who was playing a particular skill position. You knew Jabbar Gaffney then comes. It was gonna be good. And what's so interesting is, and I've told this to the audience so long, really doesn't matter. If you're out of Florida, it doesn't matter what style you play. They could bring in a guy tomorrow to run the triple option. A head coach who says, I'm going to run the triple option in Florida. And all these people say, well, you can't do that. Sure you could. You could win. You could go 12-0 running the triple option in Florida because you can get the players to do it there. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter the style. But Dave, what was interesting is they go from the fun and gun, and then obviously, and I know Ron Zook, but the Zucker thing didn't go so well, as we know. Urban Meyer ends up there, and then you go to his zone read, and he's one of the scientists that happened to be in the lab when all this originated. He might not have been the first, but he was one of them. And so once they get through the situation where Tebow becomes the full-time quarterback his sophomore year, and you saw the beauty of that thing, it was a different style, Percy Harvin, all that group, and it was incredibly sexy as well. So those are a few of those moments, but just to me, despite all the defensive talent they've had flow through there, it's always been the energy of that offense. That's what sells all of us.
And that's what's been lacking, Bill. As we were talking about, no quarterback, no offense for Florida. The defense has still been there. Defense hasn't fallen off. But it's time to get that offense turned around. And before we go to these current Gators, remember you can find all your Gators Breakdown episodes on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Search on those sites to get the links by following Gators Breakdown on Twitter and on Facebook. When you're on iTunes, please rate and review the show. Let Gator Nation know what they're getting out there with Gators Breakdown. Bill, let's fast forward to this team now, and your thoughts on Jim McElwain. Is he the coach to get Florida back to prominence? And I'm not saying, 2 national championships out of 4 seasons or anything like Urban Meyer did, or, Spurrier, where you're at the top of the SEC East, I guess, year in and year out. But is he a guy that can get Florida to the top of the SEC, every couple of seasons or so?
I think we're in purgatory right now with that topic because obviously Florida's in way better shape than with Will Muschamp or Zucker, for sure. Despite the 2012 season with Muschamp, they're in way better shape consistently with where they're at now. No way we can equate Mac to Saban or Meyer. I think your audience would objectively agree with that. They may not like it, but they would objectively agree with that. Is he the guy that can get Florida to where they were peaking with Spurrier and with Urban Meyer. I think that's a questionable ask. I wouldn't bet you everything I got that they can't. But the one problem you've got is you got Nick Saban sitting there. So to get through ultimately all the way through, you got to go through that. And I'm not sure who I think right now, whoever we want to talk about in the SEC, is equipped to do that yet. So with Mac, I would probably question that. It doesn't mean that they can't be really good, but ultimately the last team standing, I don't think we're on that trajectory yet if I'm looking at Florida. I don't see that. I see goodness. Now, some of that would be by default because the SEC East isn't very good and, frankly, hasn't been very good. And some of it is Florida's a pretty good team. They have their faults offensively. It's still a pretty good team. Mac's done a pretty good job. I'm not real high on the offensive coordinator, Doug Nussmeier. I just haven't been and probably won't be. But and I think eventually, I think one thing, if they do end up taking a couple steps up, obviously we all know Matt Corral's coming in January. I think they may have to go in a new direction at coordinator before this is possible to advance.
Many Gator fans out here, Bill, would definitely agree there. And year 3 is the year to see it. If it doesn't happen this year, it's definitely time to move on from Doug Nussmeier. Yes, we know the quarterback problems they've had, but even when he was at Michigan in the 2 years at Florida now, there's just been hardly any growth at the quarterback position. Some of that, not his fault. Some of it, can be probably be a little bit more creative play caller there, but it is somewhat limited. So that's why I think year 3, he has to show the next step to show he can be a coordinator
right.
At Florida. So you weren't in love with the announcement that Florida will be bringing in Malik Zaire. Why is that, and is it most of what you saw at Notre Dame and maybe no growth since then?
I just don't know what energy, and I don't mean that from a leadership point of view necessarily. I just don't know what he adds. I've watched him out of high school. I watched him at Notre Dame. I've watched him play his very best. I think I've seen him play his very best ball that he'll ever play. And that was one of 2 games. Here in Nashville at the Music City Bowl, Notre Dame, LSU. He had a really good game there. And then the next year, he's the quarterback the Texas game. They blew out Texas. And he looked wonderful there. Now, shortly thereafter, they're at Virginia, and he has the injury, and Deshaun Kaiser takes over, and he never gets the ball again. Which we all know he's not that kind of player, not Deshaun Kaiser. I just didn't see the consistency. He, you know what, and I threw this out on my show months ago. You know what Malik Zaire is to me? He's one of those LSU quarterbacks that Les Miles had. Not Zach Mettenberger, but athletic, pretty good arm, not real consistent, and when things go bad, the offense looks really ugly. That's Malik Zaire. I just don't think and I don't think he'll end up your quarterback at Florida, but I don't think if he's the guy standing there and it's time to rally around him, that Florida fans are going to like the ultimate season replay video. I just don't think that's what they're going to be into. And it also, to me, if that's the case, I think would be very damning. And again, we know for the audience, let me reiterate ad nauseum, we know Matt Corral's not there yet. But it would be really damning on whoever's there right now, Felipe Franks, Luke Del Rio, Kyle Trask, Shane Matthews, whoever we can think of. It wouldn't be really complimentary to the guys there right now if he's the guy that everybody's looking to. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I said on your show, too. When they brought him in, if he can come in and learn the system in the short amount of time that he does, and he comes in and is the starter, I don't know what it means for the rest of the quarterbacks. And it's definitely not good. It may not be bad. It may not ever mean Frank wouldn't be ready. But if Zaire can come in and from the limited sample size we had and from what we saw at Notre Dame, if he was able to come in and be the quarterback, then I wasn't so confident in this Gator offense going into the season either. So as a change of pace quarterback, and I don't think that's what he was brought for, but as a change of pace quarterback and a third down option, I think that might be where he fits.
Might well be. I mean, usually you get this deep in your career, and there are a couple of exceptions, but if it hasn't happened yet, it's really difficult to project it's about to explode for you. Now, I'll tell you, a Jacksonville kid, a Florida kid, Nathan Peterman, looked terrible at Tennessee. Remember him? Played Florida. He went up to Pitt and just looked great. Now, again, great relative to the college game. So, I mean, we can think of moments or guys that get a fresh start and it explodes. I got to tell you, it'd be great to be the guy who could look through it.
Right. Scary proposition, Bill. What if the starting quarterback is Luke Del Rio when Florida plays Michigan?
I don't think that's what they're going to do. Now, my psychology might not be their psychology, but I think they're going to start with Felipe Franks. I think you trot him out there and you let him keep it or you let him lose it. I mean, what let me use the term or the phrase, what do you have to lose? I mean, that's what you've got. He is your high-end guy currently. You got another one coming in that we know is better, but he's your current high-end guy. He's the prettiest car in the parking lot, right? I mean, we've got to have him be what he supposedly is. So I start with him. I keep it simple. I don't get too sexy with everything. I'm pretty sure with my Gator personnel that I'm at least dead even with Michigan. Might even have some advantages at wide receiver without Callaway even against their DBs. So there's some areas where I like my matchups. I don't know that I'm going to be able to run it too well in that game, so I want to protect him. I don't want him running around out there like crazy getting killed, even though we do know he has escapability. I would go in that direction to begin with. If it just collapses, then we've got a veteran who's been through a lot of stuff, right? Luke Del Rio. We're going to throw him in there. You know who Luke Del Rio is? And again, let's go back to Notre Dame. He's their Tommy Rees. That's,
there you go. Yeah.
Probably not as accomplished as Tommy, but that's kind of their guy. You know, let's go back and let Luke have it. He knows, he probably knows the playbook as well as anybody. You know, the old guy who knows the playbook so well. He's limited physically in some areas, but let him have it, and then you can go from there. If you lose Franks early to confidence, who knows what'll happen? I'm just guessing, but I would assume it'd be hard to reel him back in. And then you got Corral coming. I would assume he'd leave if this doesn't work out. Now, again, folks, I'm not speaking for this kid. I'm just giving you the law of averages on that one. That's what I would do, Dave. I'd try him out there first, which probably means they're going to start Luke Del Rio.
and then all the fans in Dallas sell their tickets, and there's nothing but maize and blue in the stadium. So, Bill, you've been pretty critical of Antonio Callaway on your show the last couple of weeks. Does it change your thoughts about Florida? And you just kind of hit on it, but does it change your thoughts about Florida's matchup with Michigan? And if the suspension should last longer than that, does it affect Florida's season?
I don't think it changes anything. I want him gone. I mean, he's a serial knucklehead. Go ahead and get an agent. Start working out for the draft. Go. I mean, he's shown no interest in cooperating. These incidents keep happening. They're all embarrassing. Whether or not it ends up guilty in court, they're all damning and embarrassing. And they're not all just guys are going to be guys, man. They're going to raise a little hell. I get that. We're all at fault, but to me, he's shown. Let me just put it this way: if you're a parent of a player on that team, you think you like this? Now, not that you've got to vote, but I mean, to me, it would be embarrassing. So I would cut him loose. I'd cut him loose before something else happens, and you look really bad, and then you cut him loose, but nobody gives you credit for it because you had no choice, right? I'd cut him loose. They've got plenty of personnel offensively. he's a good ball player. He's not Percy Harvin. And I know it's not quite the same skill set either, but he's not Percy Harvin. He's not Riedel Anthony, Ike Hilliard. He's not Jabbar Gaffney. I don't think he's Jack Jackson. I don't think he's Jaquez Green. I mean, I don't think he's Carlos Alvarez. I keep going and on and on and on. I don't think he's Chris Collinsworth. I think he's a pretty good player. And damn good player at times. Yeah, but to me, you're Florida. You're not built around, we got to keep this guy or else. There's too much that you can get or have at Florida to worry about a player. I'd run him off. I'd say it's time to go. Hope you're the best. If you need any help, we'll love on you. We'd be glad to help you, but it's time to go.
This raised a question I just thought of. You mentioned Callaway, and he's been good, but not great. And along with some other receivers and the offense as a whole, there's kind of been this thought around Gator Nation that Florida's just a quarterback away. Has it really been that simple the last 2 years? I mean, under Jim McElwain, is it as simple as Florida is just a quarterback away, or has there been more than that?
I think that makes such a big difference, you could say it. Now, that still would not allow us to compliment that offensive line much because they haven't busted much of a grape for a while. But I tell you what, Alabama, Georgia, obviously Darius Geis at LSU, but I like Florida's not only how they start with the running back position, but I like their numbers. They're not as deep as Alabama, but I like their numbers. And I think, although we know what what Florida's running backs can do, I still think within that topic, they're still underrated. I think the wide receiving core can be the best that they've had in a while. Wouldn't be the best ever, but that they've had in a while. I think they're well set at tight end. So I think a quarterback would have made so much of a difference. Just go back and extract Will Grier. Yeah. And look what we've got. And I don't think he's great, but he was better than what we've been seeing. So, I think you could make that statement and not be embellishing. Yeah, I really do.
Well, going back to Miami, what does Randy Shannon, and since then, it didn't end so well there, but what does he bring to this Florida defense as a head guy who can now lead the defense? And, I would think he probably wants one more shot of being a head coach somewhere if this works out for Florida. And all these defensive coordinators, it has worked out for past defensive coordinators at Florida to go on and do big things. But do you see much of a drop-off? He's got some young guys coming in that he's got to mold into that we saw play a good bit last year. Is Randy Shannon a good fit for defensive coordinator at Florida?
I think so. I think it's solid. I think it's a nice, natural progression there. Player respect. Been there and done that. That's important. It's not the only thing, but it does count, and it's important. I probably haven't spent, I should say, 1 second worrying about that. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think it's going to be a nice, smooth handoff for him. And I still think if you're just looking at the East, other than Georgia and all they're returning, those are the two best defenses. I still think they'll be one of the better defenses. Now, a lot of replenishment the last couple of years because I look at the cumulative effect, not just one class leaving. Mm-hmm. And after, I think Alabama's going to take a step down defensively this year. Now, it might not matter. They still may be the last team standing, but I don't think they'll be as good. And I think Florida had a step to give everybody defensively, as well as they've been playing in general. I think they'll be fine. I think the magic elixir is back to the quarterback position. I've said this on my show. Florida not being able to find a quarterback would be like Miss World competition is now complete, and she's standing up on stage, bowing, taking all the accolades, and then she gets on mic and says, I can't find a date. I Miss World, but I can't find a date. That's Florida. I can't find a quarterback. It makes no sense. It just doesn't.
It really doesn't, Bill. And hopefully this is the last time we can talk about it. I don't expect the top 20, top 10 offense, but get something out there that can please the fans, that can win you some ball games, that doesn't put you at a disadvantage, and go win some ball games that you don't have to rely on the defense to bail you out almost every time.
Here's an interesting one. I'll reverse it on you here, and it's a conversation we've had a little bit, but I have watched through the years fall camps, August camps, where people are talking about a freshman. This case, I'm about to go Kadarius Toney, and you'll hear everybody talk about it. You'll hear the practice reports. You believe it. Remember, we got to see some of it in the spring, so we've got the optics too. Then you get in a game. You have your guys have been doing it, and the veterans, and you get no touches. So my point is, this guy's got to get 3 to 5 touches in this game somehow. I just think you have to. I'm not saying the day is based on it, but I'll be mighty disappointed if he hasn't flashed like we saw and like we hear he is. And then we get into the game. And again, folks, you've all seen this. You hear all kinds of things about a game plan, and then you get there and you're watching it and you never see it. I've seen that at every school. Doesn't matter what school. I'm not pigeonholing Florida here. I'll be really disappointed if he doesn't get a handful, at least, touches in some form or fashion in that Michigan game, somehow.
Completely agree, Bill. Yeah, we did talk about that on your show this morning. The last show we did. It was. We don't think Florida's going to be able to run north-south too much on Michigan, and to open those running lanes up a little bit. It may be Toney on those sweeps, some reverses, and some trick plays there to where they open some things up. But I agree. I don't think Doug Nussmeier, one critique I have had of him is he doesn't force the ball. Antonio Callaway's second-half numbers in games is nowhere near what they are in the first half. Now, you could say defenses adjust and cover him, but you get your playmakers the ball. That's never been a problem for Lane Kiffin. He found a way to get his playmakers the ball. And that's been my big knock on Doug Nussmeier is Callaway. In the first and second quarter, his numbers shine. Third and fourth quarters, it's not there. And for some reason, they go away from him. I completely agree. I don't think Kadarius Toney, as you said, 10 touches a game is kind of what I wanted from a Callaway. But, ease Toney in, and especially Michigan, 4 or 5 touches and see what he can do. And if one of those are a big play, that might be the difference maker in the game.
Just to give everybody an example, Michigan's 2 best receivers probably are true freshmen. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's a 5-star out of Detroit, and then Tariq Black is from the Northeast coming in, and they've looked really, really good. So there's going to be a lot of interesting youth in this ballgame. New guys that we all remember from recruiting, but it's time to see it. And we're going to get a little flash in this game, I think.
Yeah, I think so. There's some young guys on both sides of the defense game, and some big plays might can happen there. But Bill King joining us here from the Bill King Show on Gators Breakdown. Bill, size up the SEC a little bit for us. It's probably a 2-race battle between Florida and Georgia in the East. Can Tennessee or someone else sneak in and make it a hairy situation for Florida or Georgia?
I don't think so. Now, the only way is if Florida and Georgia come way back. So both fan bases are going to be just incredibly mad. And they're 8-4-ish, and maybe they're 5-3, and in some wild tiebreaker, Tennessee or somebody else wins it. That's the only way. If Florida and Georgia don't come back some to the pack in the East, and it's not a very good division still, then I don't see that happening. The Kentucky stuff, very rarely does that duplicate. Now, they may be pretty good by their historic standards, other than 1977-78 with Fran Kersey, and then Bear Bryant was there in the 50s, but their standards are we go 7-5, get in a bowl game, you get an extension on your contract. That's Kentucky football, with all due respect. So I don't see that. I don't think South Carolina is ready. I don't think South Carolina is going to be any good on defense. I'm a big fan of Jake Bentley. I don't think they have a lot of weaponry on offense, though, for him to disperse it to. They've got some, but not with the upper echelon. And then on the other side, I don't know who I think is going to unseat Alabama. If it's anybody, it's probably Auburn. If Jared Stidham is what I think he's going to be, and I think he's going to be outstanding, then maybe that last game which I think will be a high points game. Maybe that last game Auburn could win the West. I wouldn't bet on it right now. I wouldn't put much on it. But I think LSU's schedule is way too cumbersome. I don't see them. Who else would you put in there? There's nobody else in the West you could throw in there.
I agree. Yeah, it's Auburn and LSU. That can unseat Bama.
Right.
And I just think it's a part of Georgia. So it's probably your 5 teams there that you're looking at going to Atlanta. But Bill, how far is everybody behind Alabama still? We know the East, and we've seen it in December when Florida goes against Alabama. They can hang for a half and have some good plays here and there, but it just gets steamrolled in the second half. And it seems like nobody in the West can touch them either. It's just is the gap closing at all? Well,
here's the thing. You can probably make a very pragmatic statement every year now that Alabama at least has as good a personnel as anybody in America, not just the SEC. And that's me being, again, too conservative. I'm saying at least. It's probably more like they have the better personnel. Everybody else is how far away. And that's the way you worded it just then. They've got the best coach, along with Urban Meyer. But I would go 1A, 1B, Saban Meyer. And they have the best system. They have the best, it seems like, ability to develop this elite talent. And players want to go there. Now, this recruiting class here at the moment is not ranked so sexy, but I'm not real worried about that. They've had 7 straight or something. I mean, who cares? Who cares? I mean, nobody's crying for their talent deficiency at the moment. So I think it's so many layers of they're better. I think there are some years, for example, 2011, LSU had as much as Alabama, but they had Les Miles, who was suffocating the offense. They had Jordan Jefferson, who probably shouldn't have even shown up to that championship game. He looked so petrified. They had no game plan offensively. They had I don't know what they packed for that championship game other than here's the rematch, guys. Everybody take a look. That team was plenty good enough, okay? The 2012 Georgia team, sitting there on the 8-yard line at the end of the game. Make a play. You're playing Notre Dame, and you're beating Notre Dame for a natty. Your first natty since 1980. That team had plenty of ability to beat Alabama, as we watched. I mean, that's not speculating. We sat there and watched it, but Nick's on one side, and I think Mark Richt's a good coach, but he's not elite. And you saw the difference. Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, I thought blew the ending of that game. Absolutely blew it. So Nick wins again. This time Nick wins in the coaching or the guessing game or the matchup game or the strategy game. It's against all these guys. Now again, he's not perfect. Didn't win the last one against Dabo Swinney, did he? I mean, we all know everybody has their moments, but I don't see anybody closing the gap. And I don't think, here's the other thing, Dave, the SEC is not an overall well-coached league. I don't think it is. I think there's a lot of question marks throughout the league as to what exactly that they have. And there's been quite a few pretty good coaches that are no longer in that league. And, Ole Miss is about to get waylaid by the NCAA. LSU's got Coach O. He's going to have personnel, but the head coaching thing, I think, is still a question. You can only go so far at Mississippi State, even though we all think Dan Mullen does a good job. Arkansas is perennially 7-5. I don't care what you do. You may peak up occasionally. We don't know about Kirby Smart. This is year 2. We think he's pretty good. I don't think it's a very well-coached league right now either.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys learning on the job in the SEC. McElwain now in his 3rd year, Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp back at South Carolina. You're right. It's a lot of guys trying to figure out what to do. Dave,
let me give you an example. Now, I think James Franklin's proven he's more than just a flashy one-and-done guy. He just got Penn State to the Rose Bowl. Just won the Big Ten outright. So I think he's a little better than maybe we all would have given him credit for 3 years ago when all we would say is he's a hell of a recruiter, but we don't know. I think he's gone further than that. The resume is fattened up some. But this guy wins 9 games at Vandy. And you think he does that? I don't care if he's he's the greatest coach ever. You think he does that at Vanderbilt in the East? That's a well-coached division? Come on.
Right. And there was a lot of screams for him after Muschamp went 4-8. There were people really ready to get rid of Muschamp that year and get James Franklin, because I think a lot of people saw, the potential that he had as a head coach. And I do remember that talking, especially in the last few days when he got that new contract, and a lot of people kind of rekindled that conversation. They were like, yeah, we thought he would have been good at Florida after the 4-8 Muschamp 10 years. So they were ready to get rid of Muschamp that year and go get James Franklin.
Let me tell you something. If James Franklin was there, and again, I'm just saying what if. I'm not trying to make this happen. You would not have another conversation about recruiting rankings. I can promise you that. Right. Not negative.
Right.
You'd be dancing. Gator fans would be dancing in the streets every day.
We just got to talk about Alabama, Bill. One more question for you before I let you go here. FSU, their opening week opponent, but Florida's big time rival. And I threw the question out not too long ago to some Gator fans. What would be more important, win the SEC East or beat FSU? And beat FSU was the prevailing winner in that poll up there. Bill, has it been since 2012 when Muschamp put a fourth quarter for the ages there and was able to pound FSU there, but nothing since then. Has been able to score offensive touchdowns on FSU. Hopefully the gap is closing there, but I don't think that program's slowing down anytime soon either.
No, they're elite again. I think we're there. I don't think it's even speculation anymore. And I'll say this about that matchup in Atlanta. Alabama, I think, will come back some defensively. I think they'll be way more human in the secondary. But their offense looks like it might well be their best offense since Nick's been there. I really think it has that kind of ability. So I think it offsets a little bit. I do think the Florida State, I'm thinking that Florida State-Alabama game might be more of a scoring game than I'm giving it credit. I had, back in the spring, 27-24 Bama. But that thing might be in the 30s. I really think if DeAndre Francois and Jalen Hurts get going, which they're not, youthful babies anymore. One's a redshirt freshman year going true. But I think this thing could be really exciting up and down. Now, the one thought, devil on one shoulder, angel on the other, would be offenses take time to sync up, even when you have players returning. And sometimes that first game you're sloppy. Even if you have an All-American, you're sometimes you're sloppy. So I'm kind of overlooking that aspect. Defense is about you're scheming, but it's more about find ball, hit ball. Offense is about pure syncing up and being in a beautiful fluid motion with each other and harmony. And that would be the only worry. But I'm thinking my 27-24 might be sliding the total score.
Yeah, I think it could look a lot like these last two national championship games between Bama and Clemson. I think it could. It could.
Wow.
Yeah, it could turn out to be something like that with FSU there. If that Bama defensive line doesn't eat up the FSU offensive line, if it doesn't improve. So.
Right. And Cam Akers and just so many young guys that and Jerry Jeudy for Alabama and Najee Harris and Dylan. Everybody. Heck, we were talking about Dylan Moses, weren't we, when he was in 8th grade? Literally. Remember that? So it's been going on forever.
Bill, I can't thank you enough for joining us here on Gators Breakdown. So it's been a long time coming. I was glad to get you on here. And once again, thanks for having me on your show every Tuesday morning. And Gator fans out there, it'll be about 8 a.m. Eastern when I join Bill on there every Tuesday when we talk Gators.
Dave, I'm a big fan of yours, my friend, and I appreciate the invite very much.
For sure. Remember, you can find the Bill King Show on WNSR. You can download the app there. Bill, that's right. It's from the App Store, right? And Android too,
correct,
I believe.
Correct. Go either way. And I at Bill is King on Twitter, and I tweet that thing probably 80 times a day. So you can follow me. Get the link.
That is true. Bill King, Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern, 6 to 9 a.m. Central, for the Bill King Show on WNSR out of Nashville. So for Bill, I'm Dave. Thanks for listening to this episode of Gators Breakdown.